But going back to today's topic, right? And by the way, for those of you tuning in for the first time, every week Wednesdays I go live 11 a.m. Eastern time zone. I talk about various job search topics and answer your questions live. I think there was a few more people tuning in. Yeah, sorry, I lost the comments, folks. But in any case, today's topic, follow-up, right? Why is follow-up so important? Like, what's the big deal with follow-up? Now, what is follow-up in the first place, right? And what's the point of follow-up? Well, follow-up is basically, and just to keep things very simple, it's when you, firstly, it could happen at various parts of the interview process, right? Follow-up does not just simply occur after you finish your interviews and after you're done the interview and you're trying to get an update and stuff like that. Follow-up could occur anywhere from the first point of contact, folks, all the way through to the final offer, or you're following up on the offer negotiations and stuff like that. So firstly, before I get into today's topic, I want all of you to understand is that follow-up can occur at different stages of the recruitment or job search cycle. So it's not just something you do after an interview. The follow-up could occur any point from first point of contact through to the offer stage, right? That's the first thing all of you need to keep in mind. Now, what I'm going to be focusing on today is specifically why is it even important to follow up? Like, why bother follow up? Because I know a lot of you watching, your concern is, I already know what your number one concern is. Your number one concern is, hey, am I going to pester people? Am I going to annoy people? And am I going to lose out on these opportunities if I follow up too much? How do I follow up, Dean, by not coming across as annoying or pestering? Is it going to cost me opportunities if I'm following up? Let me know in the comments, folks, if that's the way you feel about follow-up, because I really need to know that. I'm really curious to find out if that's what everyone's viewpoint regarding follow-up is. So let me know in the comments, is that your concern about follow-up? Is that why a lot of job seekers are not following up? Let me know in the comments, all right? So what I'm focusing on today, again, is why follow-up. So first thing is, and the first thing I want to bring to everyone's attention as to why follow-up is so important is simply the fact that right now, folks, in the current job market environment we're in, it's highly, highly competitive. It's a highly competitive market that we're in. And follow-up needs to be seen as one of your strategies, one of the strategies in your arsenal in order for you to stand out amongst the competition, right? Because there's so many individuals right now on the marketplace, right? Given this, and you know what, guys, I'm not trying to dig up the negativity regarding the pandemic and stuff like that. But look, the reality is we are in the midst of one of the worst pandemics, or whatever you want to call it, at least in my lifetime. I've never experienced anything like this before, right? Maybe some of you, who might be, who might have had the privilege of living longer than me, or have experienced something like this similar. But this would be, at least in my lifetime, one of the worst pandemics I've ever seen, at least in my short time on this planet so far, right? So because of all these mass layoffs, right? Mass layoffs going on. A lot of you, unfortunately, have been impacted by these layoffs, right? And that's why you're on the market and looking for employment. So a huge inflow or influx of available talent, right? Now, you don't need to take my word for that. When you folks are applying for opportunities on Indeed, on Monster, if you're in the US on Dice, if you're in India for Naukri, I believe. Whatever, a Monster, right? Workopolis. For those platforms that show you how many applicants are, you're going to see hundreds and hundreds of applicants, right? Hundreds of applicants, and not only just on the application stage, but even after you've gone for an interview, and the organization just has so much inflow of talent, right? So much inflow of candidates that are interested in working for them, that you can't just depend on one meeting, folks. Right, just look at it from a statistical standpoint, right? And I'm no math genius. I'm not saying I'm a math genius or anything, but statistically, does it make more sense for you to depend on just one point of contact, like one meeting, right? And just depend on that? Because keep in mind that you're not going to be the only candidate this organization is going to be meeting with, folks, right? You're not going to be the only candidate. That's the reality of the situation. Whether you're being represented by a recruiter, whether you're applying directly and you get the interview, you're meeting face to face, you are going to be one of many candidates that the organization is going to meet. And it only takes a couple of days and a couple of other great candidates for them to completely forget about you. Maybe not completely forget about you, but get distracted by these other, fantastic candidates they might be meeting as well, right? Because keep in mind, right now, there's a huge amount of talent on the market that you're competing in. So high levels of competition and follow-up will help you stand out. Because here's the thing, most people Most individuals are not going to be following up, folks. Most people and this is based on my experience as a recruiter working in the recruitment industry prior to, this coaching thing I'm doing right now. For 8 years, I was doing recruiting before. Most job seekers do not follow up beyond maybe one or two follow-up contacts. Most people give up after one or two follow-ups, right? So what does that tell you? That tells you need to continuously follow up, right? And you need to stay in there. So again, you can stand out amongst high levels of competition, right? So that's tip number one in regards to why you need to follow up. High levels of competition, high levels of available talent on the market. And one of the ways you can stand out is through strategic follow-up, right? Now I see some comments here. We got Weldon. Weldon says, agree. Thanks for the comment, Weldon. BT says, just what I needed now, very much. Awesome. Happy to hear that, BT. Hope I can help you with today's topic. And Grishma says, concerned if the recruiter will get annoyed of following up. So look, that's a great point, Grishma, right? Now, before I get into the remaining reasons why you want to follow up, I did want to address Grishma's concern there, because this is a concern a lot of people have, right? And a lot of you might not want to publicly admit it and put it on in the comments and stuff like that. But a lot of job seekers I find are very concerned. Hey, Dean, look, I just don't want to annoy or bother or pester the person that I'm following up with, and I just don't want to lose out on my chances, right? So this is where, folks, and this goes back to a previous live stream I did, right? Remember, for those of you who've been following me for a while, I did a live stream a few weeks back where I talked about making that shift from thinking as a job seeker to thinking and positioning yourself as someone who provides a solution and solves the problem. So Grishma, what I want you to do is stop thinking of yourself as a job seeker. The reason why you're concerned that you're going to annoy the recruiter is because you're thinking of yourself as a job seeker, and you're thinking from the standpoint of your need for a job. What you need to do is make the mental shift in that you're not simply a job seeker. You're someone that's there to figure out what problem the organization has or what problem the recruiter's client has, and you're looking to position yourself as someone who can potentially solve that problem. So that's the first mental shift, folks, all of you need to make in regards to follow-up. If you're feeling a little hesitant about follow-up is because you're thinking about it the wrong way. You're thinking about it from the standpoint of a job seeker and not the standpoint of someone who has the ability to solve a problem for the organization, and potentially a very expensive a problem that the organization is experiencing, right? So think about it this way, Grishma. Like, I'm not sure what your background is, Grishma, but let's assume the organization has like a problem, and that problem is costing them, I don't know, $100,000, right, per year. Still a significant, well, let's say not a year. I just, to make it more dramatic, let's make it $100,000 problem that's costing them $100,000 every month, right? Just to add a little spice to the whole situation. And they want to hire someone with your skill set, Grishma, Grishma, to come in and solve that problem and bring a halt to this $100,000 problem per month that they have. And you, with your ability to solve the problem, right? And that's the way you need to be positioning yourself in your follow-up is not as a job seeker, but someone who can really come in and help their client or help the organization with this problem that they have. So when you take follow-up from that standpoint, from that positioning, you're not pestering anyone, Grishma, right? And again, folks, this does depend on how you present yourself, how you do your follow-up, the content of your follow-up. You need to do it from the position of someone that's looking to help the organization and help the client, help the recruiter's client, versus you just reaching out and saying, hey, I need a job. Can you help me out? Two totally different perspectives, two totally different ways of positioning yourself, right? So hope that helps, Grishma, and keep that in mind. Rodney says, exactly. Awesome. Thanks, Rodney. Appreciate that. Rodney says, the best way to be in a mindset of serving the client by taking the focus off ourselves. Yeah, exactly, Rodney, right? So folks, in your follow-up, take the focus away from yourself and your need for a job, and instead put it on your ability to solve a problem and help the organization. That's the standpoint you need to be taking. So agree with that, Rodney. Rajesh says, Dean rightly said, change the perspective to look at the problem, not from a seeker standpoint, but from the employer's standpoint, employee's point of view. Yeah, exactly, Rajesh. And shout out to Rajesh. Nice to see you here. Thanks for tuning in. And pretty much, folks, it's that mental shift you got to make, right? So make sure you do that. Grishma says, yeah, that helps. Awesome. Sounds good, Grishma. All right, awesome. So tip number one, folks, why you need to follow up was, right, and continue with my tips today, high levels of competition. Simply for that reason, you need to be conducting and making sure you're following up in order to stand out amidst this high level of competition all of you folks are going to experience as a job seeker right now, right? So make sure you keep that in mind. Now, number two reason why you need to be following up, folks, is that not everyone is going to make a decision just based on one meeting, right? And this more so has to do with not you, but it has to do with the hiring team, right? Or maybe it's the recruiter, maybe it's the HR manager, maybe it's the hiring manager, and the hiring manager could be anyone from the team lead level, manager, director, VP, C level, whoever you met with. If one meeting with you might not be enough, right, for them to feel confident in making a decision. Folks, keep in mind that hiring someone is not a simple decision, right? The individual making the hiring decision is taking all the responsibility for making an investment in someone, right? Exchanging resources in exchange for talent, your talent, and they need to be 100% sure, or at least close to 100% sure, or very certain at least, that you are going to be the person, or amongst all those other candidates that they're going to be meeting with before they make a decision, before they make a final decision. Why? Because they don't want to they don't want to waste company resources, right? Most hiring managers have had the experience in the past of hiring someone, having that trust and faith in them, bringing them on board, and and that person ends up disappointing them, or screwing up, or misrepresenting themselves, and they can't even handle the project, right? Those of you watching who have been hiring managers in the past, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? And the next time you're hiring, you're more hesitant, right? You're more skeptical. You're still not certain. Yeah, you met with a great person in one meeting, but you're thinking about that last time, that last terrible situation where you met with someone and they sold you, they seemed great and everything, and things didn't work out, and you have this uncertainty. And it's not just that, just some people just require more time to make a decision. Not everyone makes a decision just based on one or two meetings, folks, right? So this is another, I guess this is another reason why there's great strategic value in follow-up, because follow-up, again, allows you to get in front of those people, right? These people who might not be confident in making a decision just based off one meeting, where you're continuously putting yourself in front of them, right? Getting into communication with them, even opening up further opportunities for scheduling a further conversation, right? So you can assuade or dissuade those concerns and fears that they might have regarding making a hiring decision, right? So reason number two, folks, is more so not to do with you, but has to do with the decision-making style and ability of whoever it is you met with, and again, that could be the recruiter, right? If it's the first stage, could be the recruiter, the HR manager, could be the actual hiring team, right? The team lead, the manager, director, VP, C level, whatever it is. Not everyone makes decisions in the same way. So follow-up allows you to get yourself back in front of these people, these individuals, these stakeholders in the hiring process. So you have more opportunity to dissuade their concerns and any doubts, reservations they might have about making a decision, versus all these other candidates that they might be meeting with as well. So this is another, this is the other great strategic value of follow-up. So that's number two, folks, right? Now, number three is, again, it's not really has to do with you, but more so has to do with the organization, and that is too many options, right? A lot of organizations actually, and this is my standpoint as a recruiter, major mistake a lot of organizations make is they meet too many candidates, right? And that's the reality of the situation. And even right now, folks, with this whole pandemic situation going on, I guarantee organizations are like swimming through resumes and trying to figure out who they want to meet and who they don't want to meet. And even when they are, scheduling who they want to meet, it's probably a whole bunch of candidates, right? So a lot of hiring teams are in a state of confusion because there's so many great people out there, right? Obviously, you yourself are probably a great candidate, but there's a confusion as well, right? Because they're meeting with so many great people, and they can't make the decision. So let me share with you this simple analogy, right? And most of you can relate to. Have you ever been to a restaurant, right? Ever been to a restaurant? Maybe not necessarily fast food, but just any restaurant, right? You're going through the what's it called, the menu, right? And there's just so many menu items, you can't even decide what you want, right? Because there's so many options, right? Let me know in the comments if you've ever experienced this yourself as a job seeker. Sorry, not as a job seeker, but sticking to the analogy, as someone eating at a restaurant, or you go into a fast food joint, right? There's too many options and you can't decide. You can't make the decision. You're fumbling, you're weighing your options, and you just can't decide. People behind you are getting pissed off and angry. They're like, hey, what's going on here? You making up your mind or what, right? Everyone's experienced that at some point. So same thing hiring teams experience, folks, in when they're first of all, they're making the mistake, and it's not your fault. This is not your fault. This is the organization's mistake. They're interviewing too many people. And this results in the hiring team getting confused because there's too many options, there's too many individuals. And by the way, this is why, as working in the recruitment industry as a staffing agency recruiter, this is why most agencies, when they present candidates to their clients, they stick to just 3 or 4 candidates max. Because again, to prevent this confusion from occurring, and just makes it more difficult for the staffing agency to push forth their candidates, right? And it's because of this abundance of talent out there, right? And they're interviewing too many people. So this is another important reason why you need to be following up. Because again, going back to the fact that most candidates only follow up once or twice, if you keep consistently following up, folks, you get back in front of the client, back in front of the organization, back in front of the recruiter, back in front of the hiring team. You're able to maybe have further conversations, right? And then maybe open up more opportunity for you to clarify, further sell your value as a candidate. That just makes it easier for them to make a decision because you help them get more clarity in wading through all the noise, right? All these candidates that they're going to meet with and all that stuff, and position yourself as the one that they need to stick to, right? And think about that analogy with the restaurant, right? When you're at a restaurant, there's so many menu items. What do? You probably ask the waiter or the waitress, hey, look, I can't decide. Can you suggest what I can eat, right? What I should go with. And then the waiter, the waitress, they're gonna ask you some questions, and they're gonna clarify, and then they're gonna make a suggestion, and it's gonna help you make a decision, right? Similar thing you got to be doing in terms of your follow-up strategy and why you need to be following up after your interviews or during the recruitment or interview cycle or interview process to help the hiring team wade through that confusion and see if you might be the person that they want to consider moving forward with, right? So that's reason number 3 why you need to be engaging in follow-up, because a lot of hiring teams are in confusion, and you need to be able to, again, help them with making a decision, at least from your standpoint, right? Position yourself, right? So keep that in mind. So I do see some questions here, folks. So I'm going to get into the questions in the comments shortly. Sumanjit says, hello, Dean. Sorry, I missed the beginning. Yeah, Sumanjit. So thanks for tuning in. What we're talking about today is follow-up. So why should you be following up? By the way, for those of you tuning in who missed out the beginning, the replay should be immediately available after I end the stream. So feel free to check out the replay after this is done, and you can check out the previous tips I shared as well. Or if anyone wants to help out Sumanjit, let her know in the comments what have been the tips so far. For those of you who have been taking notes, hopefully all of you are taking notes, right? All right. So tip number 4 regarding why you need to follow up, folks. Number 4, right? This should actually have been number 1 because this is the main reason why I think all of you need to be following up in your job search, and that is it's more proactive, folks. It's way more proactive. So when you're following up, you're putting yourself at cause. Right? You're at cause, you're taking action, you're taking the initiative, you're being more proactive. Now, if you're not following up, you're just waiting for a response. What does that do? That puts you in the passive seat, right? You're not in the driver's seat. You're in the passenger seat. What do passengers do? They wait for things to happen. They have no control over where the vehicle is going, whether you want to take a left turn or a right turn, or whether you want to stop, the stop line and blah, 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 all that stuff. You're not in control. The passenger is never in control, right? The driver is in control. You want to be, when you follow up, when you implement a good, strong follow-up strategy, you're putting yourself in the driver's seat, and you're being more proactive. You're being cause, and you're not at effect. You're cause versus being at effect. So this is probably one of the most important reasons why you need to be following up, folks, is because it's more proactive. You're taking action. You're putting yourself back in front of the people. You're putting yourself back in front of your points of contact, right? It's more proactive versus you waiting for a response. You're just sitting back, waiting, crossing your fingers, fingers crossed, waiting for a response. No, I don't want you crossing fingers, folks. I want you to be proactive, right? And again, I do see some questions. I'm going to get to the questions shortly from Sumanjit as well as Tarun. So hang tight, guys. I'm going to get to the question shortly, all right? But tip number 4 is it's more proactive, right? Now, tip number 5, and this is the final tip I want to share with you in regards to why you need to be following up. Tip number 5 is everything else being equal, right? Between you and other candidates competing for the same role. Everything else being equal. So let's say you have the same skill set. same salary expectations, same rate expectations, same project experience, same industry experience. Let's assume everything else is pretty much equal, right? The role will go to the candidate displaying the most level of interest and enthusiasm. Sorry, excuse me. The most level of interest and enthusiasm for the position, right? So again, everything else being equal, the candidate showing the most interest and the most enthusiasm for the role will be given more consideration for the position. Now, why is that? Because from the organization's standpoint, that's the ideal candidate, right? Someone who has the skill set fit, has the experience, has the knowledge required, has all of that stuff, and is the most interested, the most enthusiastic, the most excited about the opportunity, right? And follow up as a strategy allows you to show that interest and that enthusiasm for the position. And if you're not making use of that, it might go to someone else who is, folks, right? Keep that in mind. Just because you're not following up, don't think someone else is not following up. So you need to be, and this is the fifth reason why you need to be following up, is simply so that you can separate yourself and present yourself consistently as someone who's been a consistent presence, who has interest, enthusiasm, and again, who's really committed to doing their best in getting this opportunity with this organization, right? So that's the fifth tips, folks, and this is why all of you need to be following up in your job search, right? So I'm going to go with the tips real quick. So reason number one why you need to follow up is, number one, high levels of competition right now, right? Especially right now in the job market, because of the abundance of available talent right now, high levels of competition. So follow up allows you to get yourself back in front of your point of contact. Again, could be the recruiter, hiring manager, HR manager, whoever it is, so that they don't forget about you. Because keep in mind, they have so many other people that they have to deal with, and who they're interviewing, whose applications they might be viewing, whose resumes they might be viewing. Follow-up ensures and allows you to stand out and make sure that they remember you and they keep you top of mind, right? Or top of mind up here, right? Now, reason number two is not all hiring teams, not all hiring managers make decisions quickly. So follow-up allows you to adjust to their decision-making process and their decision-making time frame, so that while they're in the process of making a decision and until they ultimately make a decision, you are a consistent presence. You're constantly in front of them, right? And you're there. They remember you. Again, you're top of their mind. Reason number three is, the reason why you need to follow up is there's simply so many options for organizations right now, right? So many candidates, and most organizations make the mistake of interviewing too many people, and they're in a state of confusion. They don't know who to go with. Should they go with this person, that person? Should they go with you? So follow up allows you to be that consistent presence. Keep putting yourself in front of them, so that you're the most visible person. In regards to the opportunity. Reason number four why you need to follow up is it's more proactive, right? I want you folks to be more proactive. I don't want you to be passive, waiting for things to happen and waiting for things to come for you. Being proactive, initiating a follow-up strategy puts you in control, puts you in taking the initiative, puts you at cause versus being at effect. You want to be at cause, not effect. You want to be proactive, not reactive, right? And tip number five is, look, everything else being equal, the role will go, or the hiring team will give preference to whoever has the most interest and enthusiasm for the position, right? Everything else being equal, right? Assuming you have all the skill sets, experience, you're a strong fit for the role, salary, compensation, all of that is good. The role will go to the person with displaying the most amount of interest and enthusiasm for the role, right? So those are the 5 reasons why, folks, you need to be incorporating follow-up as a strategy into your job search, right? Very important. So hope these tips helps. I'm going to get up to the questions now, and if any of you have any additional questions regarding follow-up, I'm happy to answer them right now. So I'm going to go over the questions right now, and let me know in the comments if you found this helpful. If you did find it helpful, make sure you hit like, make sure you comment, let me know, and make sure you reshare with your network as well. I want to make sure I'm helping other people who I might not know in your network who might benefit from this information, right? So I'm going to get to the questions now. Anyone has any questions, by the way, put it in the comments. Okay, so BT says, can we consider the position a company is hiring for is actually the problem the company is facing, and we pitch in how we can resolve, or maybe we say I am right fit for it? Yeah, so let me read your question there again, BT. So can we consider the position a company is hiring for is actually the problem the company is facing, and we pitch in how we can resolve, or maybe we say I'm right fit for it? Yeah, so basically, folks, what BT is saying is, look, Can the fact that this company is looking for someone, like, hiring at this time, be the problem in and of itself? Yeah, absolutely, BT. Right, good point. I mean, companies hire for different reasons, folks. So, BT, my advice to you on this is this depends on your previous conversation with your point of contact, right? Whoever it is, the recruiter, the hiring manager, whoever your point of contact is. On that initial conversation, you need to be getting information about why they're looking to hire, what the core problem areas are. And that's how you need to be positioning yourself in your follow-up, right? And there's many reasons why organizations want to hire, right? Maybe someone left the team and they need to replace that person. Maybe someone got promoted and there's an available opportunity now, and there's an empty space there. They need someone in that role. Maybe they have a sudden influx of new business. They can't keep up with customer demands, so they need someone in this new role who can step in and kick things off right away. So there's many reasons why, folks. So how you position yourself for your follow-up depends on why they're looking to hire. So absolutely, BT, it depends on why they're looking to hire, and that's how you should be really appealing to them in your follow-up, right? And that's what you need to be getting to, not the fact that you're looking for an update or you need a job and stuff like that. Put the focus on the organization and how you can help the organization. So that should be the focus of your follow-up, BT. So yeah, definitely a good point there. Thanks for your comment, BT, and tuning in. So Sumanjit had a good question. So Sumanjit said, hey, how frequently should we follow up? Once a week? Yeah, so great question, Sumanjit. So my follow-up strategy, folks, goes as such, right? In the first month of contact, right, whoever your point of contact is, it should be a weekly follow-up, once a week. Month 2 should be every other week, every 2 weeks, right? Not every week, every 2 weeks. Month 3 should be month 3 and onwards, once a month and onwards. Once a month, from month 3 onwards. Now, some of you might be thinking, Dean, what's the point of following up after a month? Folks, this is where follow-up is an extremely powerful strategy. I have advised this, I have advised people, some of you who have followed me to implement this follow-up and do it, don't just depend on just, 1 or 2 follow-ups, but to keep doing it. I've had people tell me, hey, Dean, you know what? I kept following up, and then, after 6-7 months, the organization, they had some internal issues. They cleared it up, and they wanted to speak to me because I was the first person they thought about, because I've been the one who's been following up with them, and that individual got the job. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen 100% of the time, folks. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is it's a strategy that you need to be carrying out over a period of time. So Sumanjit, month 1, I want you to follow up once a week, every week. Month 2, every other week, right? Every 2 weeks. And month 3, once a month. From that point onwards, right? So once a month from month 3 onwards, because when you follow up every week, the first month you become a familiar face and a familiar name to them. They know who Sumanjit is, right? Month 2, you want to drop that down to once every 2 weeks, right? Because you're going to give this a lower priority and put your focus on those other hot opportunities you're pursuing. And then month 3, you're putting it down to once a month. Again, you're reducing the priority level because you want to put your focus on the hot opportunities, the new opportunities, and keep it at that. But at the same time, you're being a consistent presence, and you're still putting yourself in front of them, Sumanjit. So that's my suggestion to you. Hope that helps. Great question. Tarun says, Sumanjit, if the position got filled up within a week, in that case, what next? Okay, so I guess Tarun, what you're saying is if the position got filled up within a week, in that case, what else? What next? Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, if the position is filled, folks, I mean, there's no point in really following up with them about an opportunity that's already been filled, right? Now, that being said, if you feel it's an organization that might have a lot of needs and requirements and projects going on, or maybe it's a staffing agency, right? Your point of contact is a recruiter, and they might have other potential roles for you, then absolutely, you want to still keep in touch with them. You want to still follow up and make sure that you are top of their mind, right, when something does come up. So even though the position is filled, if you assess that, yeah, there might be other opportunities, you still want to keep putting yourself in front of them so that you're the first person they think about when something does come up, right? So great question there, Tarun. Hope that helps. Sumanjit said, that is my next question. Thanks for bringing this up. Yeah, so I guess I kind of answered that, Sumanjit. Tarun says we have to be more than proactive. Yeah, absolutely, Tarun. Completely agree with you. You have to be proactive to such a degree that you are pretty much like a force to be reckoned with, right? That you're a consistent presence. You're always putting yourself in front of the hiring team and the hiring managers, right? So definitely agree with you on that, Tarun. Priya says, most often the hiring manager gives the interviewer a timeline. Do you mean to say we have to follow up before the timeline itself? Yeah, so Priya, my response to that is the best way to set up your follow-up is to establish the timeline at the interview itself. Now, there are some interview cycles where things are very strict, where they have a clear timeline, like what you're talking about, Priya, where they say, okay, Priya, so this is going to be the timeline. This is when we're going to give you an update. This is what's going to happen, blah, 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 all that stuff. So that's great. So you need to stick to that timeline. But what I want you to do, Priya, when they tell you the timeline, is to let them know that you will be reaching out to them for an update at that timeline, whatever that timeline is. So maybe they say, hey, Priya, so, thanks for your time. Appreciate it. So we're going to give you an update within, 7 days. Then you should say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Hiring Manager, I totally get that. Appreciate you giving me the heads up on that. So just to let you know, I understand that you're going to give me an update within the next 7 days. So what I'm going to do, Mr. and Mrs. Hiring Managers, I'm going to actually reach out to you on day 7 to get an update from you. Does that, is that fine? Or how can I best reach you to get that update? Do you have an email address? Would you like me to call you? How would you like me to follow up with you? And they'll let you know, right? So you got to establish the follow-up timeline, folks, at the interview when they're meeting with them, or if it's a phone call, on the phone call. If it's a video, interview, it's at the video interview. You have to set the stage for follow-up so that they are aware they're expecting you to follow up, right? So then it's not going to be like, okay, you're just pestering them or something like that. They already know that you gave them a heads up that you're going to be following up with them, right? So keep that in mind, all right, Priya? And then thanks for your comment there. Great question. Gaurav says, follow-up shows the passion and zest you have for the position. Yeah, exactly, Gaurav. Very important, right? Very important to show that enthusiasm, that passion, and that interest, right, in the opportunity and the company. Gaurav says, yeah, rock on, Dean. On confusion part, I have seen manager interviewing for months, so many candidates, and at the end, he was not sure. Yeah, exactly, Gaurav, right? I mean, this is such a major mistake a lot of organizations make, and I've seen it all the time as a recruiter in the staffing agency, right? They're interviewing like a whole bunch of people, and they end up confused, right? This is one of the biggest mistakes that organizations make, is interviewing too many people, right? Now that's a topic for a whole nother story. I'm actually looking to start another live stream for the recruitment side of things, right? And it's going to be it's probably be more interesting for maybe recruiters or HR professionals or hiring managers. But you folks are most welcome to tune in when I introduce that live stream as well. But stay tuned for announcements on that. But yeah, absolutely, Gaurav, totally, right? I mean, it's they introduced the confusion themselves by interviewing too many people. So thanks for your comment, Gaurav. Weldon says, thank you. I'm going to follow up today on my last interview. Awesome, Weldon. All the best on that. And, all the best. And keep us posted, I guess, on the next live stream, how that went. Gaurav mentions, some jobs mentioned that we should reach out by call or email. Wouldn't that hurt our chances to get an interview call? Also, this might not be related, but when a recruiter says keep in touch, does that mean follow up with that about our job search? Okay, so the first part of your question, Gaurav, some jobs mentioned that we should. So I'm not sure, Gaurav, if you meant to say should not, because if it says you should reach out by call or email, yeah, you definitely should reach out, right, by call or email. Wouldn't that hurt our chances to get an interview call? Yeah, so two things regarding this, Gaurav, right? I have, when you work in recruitment, when you work in a staffing agency, right, there's always, hiring managers, recruiters, and organizations that say, hey, don't reach out by phone or email, blah, 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 whatever. Now, if you do reach out by phone or email, will that affect your chances? With some people, yeah, it might, right? So that brings me to the second point. Second thing is, you should not be reaching to just one particular person at the organization. You need to multiply your chances, right? So don't just reach out to one person. If you're going to be phoning, if you're going to be emailing, reach out to multiple people within the organization. And the other thing in regards to that is, don't depend on just a handful of opportunities. If you have an abundance of opportunities to consider, Gaurav, I guarantee you won't be worried about one organization being upset just because you gave a phone call or an email. And by the way, organizations out there saying don't phone and don't email, it's just ridiculous. Sorry, not to offend any organizations out there, but it's just ridiculous why you would be offended that a job seeker or a candidate would reach out to you by phone or email. Like, I understand the high volume things. You're probably getting you don't want a high volume of phone calls. But if someone has the ability to solve whatever problem your organization has, why would you not want to speak to them, right? And assuming that they're able to call you or email you, you have that discussion and they demonstrate the ability to solve the problem you're experiencing at your organization, how does that hurt you, right? Worst case scenario, let it go to your voicemail then, right? Fair enough. But for you to get upset at people calling your organization and then emailing you, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, seriously, like, but Gaurav, yeah, hope that answers your question, Gaurav. So yeah, some people might get offended by that, right? Some people might get annoyed, but that doesn't mean you should not do it. So if you don't want a phone call, at least send an email, right? Send an email introduction, and keep your pipeline full of other opportunities so that you're not dependent on just one or two organizations that might have some ridiculous, policies about, not accepting emails from people or ruling people out just because they sent you an email, right? So hope that helps, Gaurav. And the second part of your question, when a recruiter says keep in touch, does that mean follow up with them about our search? So when a recruiter says keep in touch, it usually means keep in touch for opportunities I'm recruiting on that might be a fit for you. So if they frequently recruit on your skill set, Gaurav, absolutely, you should keep in touch. Let them know you're on the market. Remember, a recruiter's primary concern, folks, is for what they're actively recruiting on, and also for positions they frequently recruit on in the future as well. So that's why you need to be keeping in touch and keeping them updated. And the extent to which a recruiter can help is dependent on what they're actively recruiting on, right? So hope that helps, Gaurav. And great questions there. Great guidance as always, Dean. Thanks for sharing this. Hey, no worries. I'm not sure who put that comment. Unfortunately, this thing doesn't always show the name of the people. But thanks for the feedback, and happy to hear that you enjoyed the session and you got value out of it. So Rodney, my friend Rodney says, one way to approach proactivity is to have the mindset like we would do dealing with an attacking predator, like a tiger or an army of snakes in a jungle. Take action. We cannot hide forever. There has to be a point of taking action. It is the same way with follow-up. We must take action as if our lives depend on it. Rodney, well said. That was a 10x response right there, my friend. Absolutely, completely agree with you. It's about being proactive, folks. You got to take the action, right? Now, Rodney obviously gave a great analogy there, and that's the whole purpose of follow-up. You need to be in attack mode. Now we're not attacking anyone, obviously. I don't want anyone attacking people or being what is it? What's the word? I'm losing my words. What's the term? Antagonistic. You're not trying to be antagonistic or anything like that. What you're doing is you're being proactive. You're taking action, right? Just like Rodney's saying. So great comment there, Rodney. Completely agree with you. And let's see here. BT says, thank you, Dean. I will change my approach accordingly. Yeah, sounds good, BT. Keep us updated on that. Tarun says, after following up 1 month, I get no response from recruiter. You were technically not fit for the role. Is that fair answer from the recruiter side? Yeah, Tarun, it could be, right? It could be simply that you weren't a technical fit for the role. Or it could be something else, right? Folks, the reasons that they give you for why they don't want to proceed with you, do not take it at face value. Do not assume that that's the real reason. Right? Let me say that again. Do not assume that every response you're going to get in terms of feedback is going to be the actual reason why they don't want to move ahead with you. Right? It could be something that they don't want to mention because they don't want to offend you. Maybe you sucked at the interview. Who knows? Right? I'm not saying you are, Tarun. I'm just giving an example, right? If you didn't do well at the interview, maybe you didn't explain something really well. Maybe you kept cutting them off. You kept interrupting the interviewer, and the hiring manager got upset about that. And they said, hey, we never want to see this candidate again. Your recruiter point of contact is probably not going to give you that feedback because they don't want to offend you. They don't want you to get upset at them, right? Because most people get defensive when they get honest feedback a lot of times, right? And that doesn't mean, I'm not saying, I'm not talking about you personally, Tarun, because obviously I don't think we've ever met or spoken. But I'm saying not all the feedback you're going to get, folks, and the point I'm trying to make is not all the feedback you're going to get from the recruiter, from the organization in terms of feedback is going to be the actual reason why they decided to pass on you. So, saying that you were not a technical fit for the role could be the reason, right? Could be the reason, Tarun, but it might have been something else. You never know, right? So unfortunately, you might not always be getting the actual specific feedback, right? So now, if you keep getting these responses, right, you keep getting recruiters saying, hey, you weren't a right fit for the role, and you keep hearing that over and over again from organizations, from recruiters and, hiring managers and stuff like that. That's when you need to take a look at, hey, what's happening here? Is this really the reason, or is there something else going on? Is this something I'm doing at the interview that's making these organizations not want to move forward with me? And they're just saying this because they don't want to tell me the actual reason, because they don't want to offend me or something. So keep that in mind, Tarun, right? It's not always the actual feedback you're going to get. And not just Tarun, for everyone else out there. It's not always going to be the actual feedback. The actual feedback could be something else, but they don't want to tell you what it is because they don't want to offend you, right? Because every recruiter, every hiring team, every hiring manager has experienced giving honest feedback and the candidate getting upset and pissed off, and in some cases, like, seeking legal action and stuff like that. I don't know, like, it's crazy. Like, I've experienced this as a recruiter in the past where I provided honest feedback. The candidate couldn't take the feedback. They got offended. Their ego got in the way and they got upset. Now, that doesn't matter to me because the way I operate, it's my responsibility to provide feedback, whether, whichever way the candidate takes it, right? That's me. But not all recruiters, not all, points of contact, hiring managers are going to have the same attitude. A lot of people, they're going to experience that negative experience once and they're never going to do it again, right? So just keep that in mind, folks. All right. But great question there, Tarun. Sumanjit says, thanks, Dean. Hey, no worries, Sumanjit. Hope that was helpful. Thanks for tuning in. Sashaya says, I guess that's thank you. All right. Awesome. So thanks. Well, you're welcome, Sashaya. I'm not sure if that's what you meant, but you're welcome. Rodney says, in other words, the will to survive. Yeah, absolutely, Rodney, for sure. Gaurav says, shouldn't. Yeah, okay, no worries. Priya says, thanks, Dean. Hey, no worries, Priya. Appreciate your comment. Rodney Ronquilos, BT says, Rodney couldn't simplify more than this. Yeah, it was a great example, right? Gaurav says, but is it okay to ask for honest feedback after the interview to improve yourself? Yeah, absolutely, Gaurav. And actually, folks, what you can do if you, again, set the expectation up front, right? Set the expectation up front when you're in the initial stages of your conversation, right? With your recruiter, with your point of contact, the hiring manager, let them know up front, right? So let's say I'm the recruiter, Gaurav, right? And you're dealing with me. And let's say I'm about to present you for this role. So you can say, hey, Dean, you know what? It's great that you're going to present me for the role and, appreciate blah, 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 whatever. And then you can say, now, Dean, I did want to let you know that regardless of what happens with this opportunity, whether the feedback is positive or negative, whatever their feedback is, can I count on you, Dean, to provide me with the honest feedback? I know as a recruiter, you probably sometimes experience, candidates not taking the feedback positively. I just want to let you know, Dean, that's not going to be my reaction. I want to know exactly what I'm not doing well or why the organization does not want to move ahead with me so that I can make improvements to myself and therefore improve my chances of getting a job elsewhere if this opportunity does not work. So can I count on you, Dean, to provide me with honest feedback, whether that feedback is negative, positive, or even potentially offensive? I'm happy to deal with that. I'm open to dealing with that feedback. Can you provide me with the feedback, Dean, whatever that is? Right? So if you do that, Gaurav, it sets the expectation up front, right? And the recruiter or whoever your point of contact is, they'll probably feel more comfortable sharing with you the feedback, especially if it's negative feedback or feedback that might be potentially offensive. So if you set that expectation up front, I'm not saying everyone's going to, agree to that and do that, but it increases your chances of them giving you honest, open feedback on the opportunity, right? So I hope that helps, Gaurav, and great question there. Looks like that's all for questions, folks. So look, hope everybody had a great, got some great information out of today's session. Gaurav says, thank you. Yeah, no worries, Gaurav. So hope everyone got some great information. If you did, make sure you hit like, make sure you comment, make sure you share. And remember, mark your calendars. Every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone, I go live right here on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Shout out to everyone on Instagram. I don't have much of a strong Instagram following, by the way. So, hey, I'm trying to build my Instagram. So, folks, follow me on Instagram. I'm trying to build up my following on there. Let's not even talk about TikTok. I'm failing miserably at TikTok right now. I can't figure it out, but I'm still trying, all right? So, hope this information was helpful. Again, Wednesdays, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone. Wednesdays, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone. Feel free to tune in. And I'm talking about various job search topics. All right. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Looks like we do have some. Additional questions here. So before I sign off, Laquinda says, but wouldn't that put me in a place where HR would think that I'm not a fit after all? No, not at all, Laquinda. You're just setting the stage for the relationship, right? You're letting them know what your expectations are. If the feedback is negative, right? If they do happen to feel that after interviewing you, they feel that you're not the right fit, would they be providing feedback? So no, that's not gonna put you in a position where you're saying, I don't, I'm not the right fit or anything like that. You're just setting the expectations, Laquinda, that okay, after the interview or for the remainder of the process, Mr. or Mrs. HR person, I just want to let you know I'm very open to receiving feedback, positive or negative, that'll help me improve my chances in my job search. And I just want to find out from you if you can provide me with that feedback. And I wanted to assure you that I'm going to take that feedback positively and make adjustments in my search, right? So that's what you're doing, Lakwinda. It shouldn't affect that. Poya says, before you go, I just have to say my team member was listening to you right now and told me you gave her so much energy. Okay, awesome. I'm happy to hear that, Poya. I appreciate your comment. And I'm happy to do that. Hey, if I can pump you guys up for your job search, I'm happy to do that. But folks, look, and appreciate that comment, Poya, and let your teammate know I said thanks for that. But look, folks, I don't want to just pump you up. I want you folks to take action, right? That's the most important component. If you feel energetic, you feel pumped up, that's great. But I want you to go out there, go out to the marketplace and take action, all right? That's the most important part. Tarun says, thanks. No worries, Tarun. Poya says, so she has created the best post ever so far. Awesome. Sounds good, Poya. Appreciate that. We got thanks, Dean. No worries. You're welcome. Gaurav, very informative. No worries, Gaurav. Appreciate everyone's feedback. And Dean gives, okay, I appreciate that, Poya. I appreciate that, my friend. And Lakwinda said, thanks for the perspective. Yeah, no worries, Lakwinda. All right, folks. So thanks so much. And by the way, for those of you who have not subscribed to my newsletter, send me a direct message. I'll send you the link on how to subscribe. And again, every Monday, 7:30 a.m., I release a weekly newsletter email strategy for your job search. And Wednesdays, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone, I go live right here and share job search tips and advice that you can apply to your job search. All right. So everyone have a fantastic day. Hey, stay positive. Keep taking action. Confront the marketplace, folks. Be proactive. Be a force to be reckoned with. Don't give up. Push forward. Keep taking action. Keep putting yourself in front of the organizations you want to work for. Keep following up. Incorporate follow-up into your strategy. All right. Have a good one, everyone. Have a good day.